Lannisters are a bunch of sociopathic demon blondes who all make living in Westeros a living hell for anyone who doesn't share their last name. And they do all this from their seat at Pride Rock. Sorry, Casterly Rock. Freudian slip there. But the Lannisters, their big castle is a mountain. The mountain is called Casterly Rock. The castle is built into the mountain. But the Lannisters did not build Casterly Rock. Casterly Rock was built by... ding, 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 you guessed it, the Casterlys. So how did the Lannisters replace the Casterlys and get to own their mountain castle? Let's find out together. I'm being facetious. I know, I'm telling you. I mean, you might know too, but this is just like the social contract we're doing here, okay? Anyway, behold Casterly Rock, otherwise known as The Rock. It is a mountain. It is a mountain with a castle built into it. You can see, you have the ocean down here. You have like the little entrances under the mountain. You have the watchtower up top. If you look very closely, you could see like a number of like little holes cut in. Those are windows. You get the picture. But to understand how Casterly Rock came to be, we need to travel back in time, back to the Dawn Age, which is like 8 to 12,000 years ago in Westeros. This is the time period in which the only humans in Westeros are the First Men. So the First Men came, they had their big war with the Children of the Forest, and now they have like the pact, and so they're kind of at peace, and then all these like little kingdoms start sprouting up. And so it's during the Dawn Age that the legend goes that there was a man named Corlys, son of Castor. Get it? Casterly Rock. And he lived in a small village near the rock that was being terrorized by lions. Lions were coming in, they were nomming people, it was a whole terrible thing, and he decides, I'm gonna do something about it. So with nothing but a spear, he tracks down the lion and finds them in a cave at the base of the rock. And it's there that he uses his spear to do what you do with a spear, and he takes out the lion and its mate, but he spares the lion's cubs, which are also there in the den. Now, this is important because the old gods, because remember, this is prior to the Andals. There's no Light of the Seven or any of that bullshit. It's just the old gods. The old gods like that he takes mercy on these cubs and then shines a beam of sunlight into the mountain, into the cave, where Corlys then sees a big thing of gold in the wall. Because remember, that's what Casterly Rock is known for. There is gold in them hills, boys. So Corlys sees this and starts mining. And as the legend goes, Casterly, the family, basically keep this mine going. And then eventually, to protect their gold, they seal off the entrance and start excavating the mountain to both, mine the gold and also, create a space for them to live when they're not mining the gold. Now, while the Casterlys never refer to themselves as kings, they do become the richest and the most powerful family in the region because they got all the gold now. And they will stay that way for hundreds, if not thousands of years until the arrival of a sneaky man named Lann the Clever. Now, I should reiterate that these are all legends, even the origin of the Casterlys and their existence. It's so long ago that it's basically legendary status at this point, including Lann the Clever. But from what we know, Lann the Clever was able to somehow trick the Casterlys out of Casterly Rock, therefore establishing himself as the first of the Lannisters and their ownership over the rock. But how did he do this? Well, there are many versions of the legend, and each of them is a little different, how he manages to trick them. So let's discuss a few of those versions, starting with my favorite and ending with my least favorite. Okay, so my favorite version, Lann the Clever decides, I need to get into Casterly Rock so that I can cause some mischief. How am I going to do that, though? Well, there's a very small hole in the mountain. If I can just squeeze through it, I can get in. So what is he going to do to squeeze in? You guessed it. He's going to strip naked and cover himself in butter. And so he does that. He greases himself up with butter, and then he wriggles into the hole and gets into Casterly Rock that way. And once he's in, he starts causing all the mischief. He goes around and he's literally in the walls, a la Tyrion, in the future. And he starts basically whispering in all of the different Casterly's ears so that they think that there's demons and shit around, and he starts trying to turn them against each other. So he keeps stealing shit from people's rooms and then hiding in other people's rooms so that they are all confused and they're turning against each other, and then there's just weird screaming kind of coming out of the walls occasionally until they all lose it and they're like, oh my god, this place is haunted, we need to get out, this isn't safe anymore. And then he owns it. Cool. Now, of course, that isn't the only version. One of the other versions, instead of, squeezing into the hole himself, he uses the hole to basically pour in and sneak in a bunch of vermin. So, like, rats and just all of the, like, little creepy crawly creatures. And he, like, pours them in through this hole until they start terrorizing the Casterlys. And once again, the Casterlys are like, I gotta get out of here. Similar to that version of the story, there's another one where he actually sneaks in a pride of lions and lets them loose on the Casterlys, and the lions go around and they basically eat Lord Casterly and all of his sons, and then once they, skedaddle, Lann is able to go into Casterly Rock and basically claim Lord Casterly's wife as his own wife and his daughters as his own daughters, and then he is Lord of the Rock. Okay, and then finally, my least favorite version so basically one of the versions is that he is doing some sneaking, Lann is doing some sneaking into Casterly Rock, and he's visiting the beds of all of the women who live there, and does some assault, and then 9 months later, all of them have these little blonde children, because he's blonde. That's the thing you gotta remember. Now, obviously, I don't love that one for obvious reasons, but something interesting to note is the Maesters seem to agree that that version is the one that probably has a nugget of truth to it, in the sense that according to what they theorize, the Maesters, they think that Lann was probably like one of the men-at-arms for Lord Casterly, and then probably hopefully with consent, did a whoops and got his daughter pregnant, and then basically said, like, hey, we're in this situation, will you let me marry her at least? And then if Lord Casterly allowed that, and then Lord Casterly didn't have any living sons of his own, it would stand to reason that when he passed, the house in Casterly Rock would go to his daughter, and therefore Lann the Clever. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is obviously like a legend. It's all speculation, but from what the Maesters know, from the records that do exist, the Casterlys were there for a while, and then suddenly the Casterlys disappear and are replaced by the Lannisters. So obviously, how that happens probably isn't any of the versions that I said, except for maybe like the last one with what the Maesters theorize, but something happened. There was a family here, the Casterlys of Casterly Rock. They built it, they owned it, they got rich off of it, and then somehow they get supplanted by this rando, Lann the Clever. It's shenanigans like that that make me look at Lann the Clever and go, you remind me of certain people. Okay, good night, y'all.